everyone, welcome back. What we're going to be looking at today are poetic devices within poems. Because our writing project for the upcoming week will be focusing on poetry again. So, how do we know when a piece of writing is a poem? Um, Down below, you have an initial activity before you start the main task. So, what I would like you to do is make sure you have the initial task before, ready to have a discussion about. Alright, so this is your initial activity. Which one of these texts is a poem? And how do you know? Can you list as many clues that tell you it's a poem? So pause the video now and have a think about which one, text A or text B, is a poem and how do you know? Okay, hopefully you've paused the video and had a go at doing that because I'm going to go through the possible answers that you could have come up with. So things you may have noticed, text B is the poem, and how could you maybe have told about that? So text B has short sentences in paragraphs of 4 lines. Now in poetry we don't call them paragraphs, we call them stanzas or even verses, but I'm often going to use the word stanza. So yes, text B has short sentences and stanzas of 4 lines. If I look closely as well, each sentence begins with a capital letter. Sentences in this poem are not in full. Actually, they sound more like bullet points or a list. The punctuation is limited. If I compare it with text A, I can see question marks, exclamation marks, inverted commas, apostrophes, the works. However, in text B, which is the poem, it's very limited. I can see capital letters, hyphen, and a full stop. So poetry has different rules when it comes to layout, language, and use of punctuation. Kind of everything you know about punctuation kind of can go out the window when it comes to poetry. I know that may be slightly confusing. However, poetry is a great form of expression that isn't tied down with the rules of grammar and the mechanics of writing. Poetry can be as creative as you like. There's also some repetition there. Lots of sentences start with a or the, so I can see the same phrase used over and over. And also the picture surrounds the entire poem, which is, not always what you would see in a story. So those are just some initial clues, without me even reading the poem, that I can tell it's a poem and not a story. Alright, so today we're going to be recapping and looking at poetic devices. Poetic devices are deliberate uses of words, phrases, sounds, and layout to present meaning within poetry. We have already covered a few last term. We looked at rhyme, similes, and personification. So let's just have a little recap about what those mean. So rhymes or rhyming couplets are words that have the same phonetic sound at the end of a word. They go at the end of each line in a poem. So here are 2 poems. Which rhyming couplets can you spot? So your first one here is Hickory Dickory Dock. The mouse ran up the clock struck 1, the mouse ran down, Hickory Dickory Dock. And there's another poem here, you can pause it, have a little think, have a little discussion with the people around you. Where can you spot the rhyming words? Hopefully you've managed to do that. So what I can do now is start highlighting where I can see a rhyming couplet. Dock, clock. Also there is, and dock again. 1 and down don't rhyme, but those are your rhyming couplets. You've also, won't go into that just yet. I was about to talk about another poetic device. Let's go on to I can rhyme. She said, you can't do it. She said, you're not so bright. But I can rhyme. She just wasn't right. She said blue, and I said zoo. She said purple with a grin. Well, what do I do? So that was a fun rhyme about rhyming. Why do you think she said purple with a grin? Let me try and pick out some of our rhyming couplets here. I've got bright and right, blue and zoo and do. So a lot of the time, they rhyming couplets can follow a pattern, but they don't always have to. Again, poetry, you have a lot of creative expression. But yeah, rhymes are the same phonetic sound at the end of the word that go at the end of a line in a poem. Similes, we worked really, really hard on similes when we were looking at The Tunnel with Anthony Brown. So a simile is a comparison between two things using the words as or like. For example, her smile is as bright as the sun, or her smile is bright like the sun. So again, the similes link to an adjective or a verb about something that shares that similarity. And therefore similes can be a little bit tricky. Here are a couple of poems that have similes in them. I am as quick as a cheetah. My eyes are as blue as the ocean. My ears can hear like a rabbit. My brain is as smart as a scientist. My nose can smell like a bear. My heart is as big as an elephant. Again, if I'm highlighting an example, is as big as, like a, as a, all of those comparisons are similes. Another poem here called Senses. Sadness is as happy as laughter. You might cry because it hurts, you might laugh because it hurts, but I know one thing, laughter is laughter and sadness is sadness. They can show the same things like hurting and gladness. And you've also got some rhyme in there as well. You've got sadness and gladness. So similes don't have to be in every single sentence to be present in a poem. Again, they don't follow all the rules. We also looked at personification. Personification is giving human qualities and characteristics to non-human things. So, for example, the leaves danced their way through the lawn. The brutal wind bullied the tree. Those are examples of personification that we used last time. Here is a poem that includes personification. In spring, the garden wakes from its last longing sleep. In summer, all the veggies come with their colours so deep. In the fall, the garden is a great leaf-covered floor. In winter, like a bed of snow that will awake no more. Have a pause the video, see if you can pinpoint any personification examples. And I'm going to then move on to our new poetic devices. Okay, so we're going to be looking at some new poetic devices which you may have covered before in another project, but here are some more examples. We're going to be looking at alliteration, metaphors, and repetition. So alliteration is the use of the same letter at the beginnings of words. For example, I have heard how hedgehogs hog the hedge. They all begin with H. A nice common one, she sells seashells by the seashore. They all begin with that S. And another one here, tigers. Tim the terrifying tiger tiptoes through tangled trees, his twitching tail thumping, his terrible teeth terrifying turtles who tumble away. So alliteration is the use of the same letter at the beginning of words. Metaphors. Now metaphors can be quite tricky. They are often confused with similes. Similes compare something to something else using the phrases as or like. However, metaphors, when something is described as something else. So here are a couple of examples. The night is a black cat. The moon is her topaz eye. The stars are the mice she hunts at night in the field of the sultry sky. So if it was a simile, it would say the night is like a black cat. The moon is like her topaz eye. The stars are like the mice she hunts. But actually this is a metaphor poem because it's saying the night is a black cat, the moon is her topaz eye. So they can be a little bit trickier, but if you get the hang of a simile, you can certainly get used to using metaphors as well. Another example here is a poem called The Game of Life. Life is a board game, rolling the dice when we take a chance on what to do. Should I become a doctor, a lawyer, a mailman? Sometimes moving 2 spaces forward and then being sent 3 spaces back. Wonderful, feel-good times followed by hard times and sadness. Hoping to win, hoping not to lose, hoping to be the best until we reach the finish line. So this poem is all about comparing life to being a game, but saying it is a board game. So it's very clear there. And the last poetic device that we are going to be having a look at today is repetition, using the same word or phrase within a poem. Now, a lot of the time, if you were to write another type of text, I wouldn't want you to be repetitive. However, in poems, I think this is such a good feature, and it's a really easy way to make anything sound poetic. So I won't read out all of them, but you can pause the video to have a little look, but I will read out the middle one. It's called Let's Play. Let's play with sticks, we'll get our kicks. Let's do some tricks. Let's climb trees, we'll do as we please. Let's play tag and freeze. Let's walk down the gully, we'll go on a nature study. Who cares if we get a bit muddy? Let's leave a trail all day, we'll make our own way. Come on, let's play. So again, repetition is using the same words and phrases within a poem. So here I can see let's play, or just let's. And again you got let's play, and a lot of the time it's just let's, and you got let's play again. So what you're going to be doing today is you're going to have several poems to read, and I'd like you to try to begin to identify which poetic devices have been used in each of them. So what I have instructed you to do is to use a colour code. So if you find a simile, colour it in red. If you find a metaphor, blue. Personification, green. Rhyme, purple. Alliteration, black. And repetition, orange. Now you might not have these colours, and that's absolutely fine. You can choose your own colour code. You may even say, Miss McIntyre, I don't have any colours, which is also fine. You can create small symbols, you can underline, you can circle, you can put stars. I just want you to be able to read poems and start to identify the different poetic devices that make them poems. I also want you to look carefully at how the punctuation is used in poems. They are not used in the same way when we write fiction or non-fiction texts, so look really closely. I'm going to be talking about all of this in tomorrow's Google Meets at 10 a.m. So let me know what you find out, look really carefully, and then we can address all of these poetic devices and punctuation patterns together. Good luck, and I can't wait to see what you upload.